In the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful, welcome to my channel, God, Man, and Money. I salute you all. May God bless all of the righteous people and include us amongst them. In this series, I'm going to be doing something very special for myself and for the stock market. I'm going to be celebrating my first anniversary. I have been on this journey for well over 1.5 years, and in a delayed version, this is my first anniversary. So what I want to cover in this series under this subtopic is, first of all, I want to give credit to where it is due. And the first that I owe credit and thanks and appreciation is God the Almighty for all of His favors upon me and upon you, my listeners, as well. We thank God for all of His mercies that we are aware about and those that we are less conscious of. The reason why we have to give thanks and set time aside to celebrate our achievement is actually because of that rationale or reason that we have been provided within the Quran. For example, as I promised you, we're going to be having a lot of scriptural reflections in each series and in some of the segments in any given series. So the scriptural reference here is that is taken from the statement of God, from God's declaration in the Quran, in the chapter of Abraham, chapter 14, where it says that remember your Lord has proclaimed that if you are grateful to Him, He will increase you in His bounties. Or the other one in Surah Luqman, in chapter of Luqman, chapter 31, where chapter 31:12, where he again says that we have given Luqman wisdom and we obligate him to be thankful to, or enjoined upon him to be thankful to God, and that whoever is so thankful is so thankful for his own benefit, for the benefit of his own soul. So we are asking God to increase us in those blessings that are just uncountable. And I'm also using other scriptural references as a background for what I want to emphasize right now, which is the fact that engagement with the market or involvement in economic activity has a legitimacy and support in our religion, in Islam, and as I will show later on from scholars of other faiths, other religions, what they are saying from the Christian or Jewish perspectives. That is coming soon, but let's now limit it to what we have in the Quran. God tells us in the Quran that He has made trading or business or economic activity legitimate and lawful, and He has made unlawful seeking wealth or money or means through business activities that involve usury or interest, that God has made that forbidden. So what He has made lawful, He wants us to enjoy it. And in fact, with respect to economic activity, is a necessity for us, because it tells us that we are human beings, we have needs, physical needs, material needs. Even the prophets and the messengers of God, the Quran tells us that they engage in some type of vocation or business, or generally in economic activity. So there's plenty of evidence for that to encourage us. The second thing that I really want to emphasize is that the contrary view that may be openly or somehow expressed by others that we don't need these things, or because it stands in the way of our religious progress or whatever, is actually a fancy that they have made up for themselves. Because when we look at the scripture and in the life of the prophet and his companions and the early generations of this woman throughout history, the religious people have always been in the forefront of economic activity. And part of the reasons why that is so is because, as the Quran tells us, God commands them to earn their livelihood through wholesome means. And the wholesome means is not going to be based on begging or on gifts that is necessarily on the looking up to others for your livelihood and for the welfare or well-being of yourself and your family. We have plenty of evidence to support that. God commands the prophets and messengers and say, eat of the good things that we have blessed you with, if indeed the believers, you believers, eat of the good things that we have blessed you with, and be thankful to God if you indeed worship Him alone. And He says similar things with respect to the prophets and said, you prophets and messengers, eat from the wholesome things and do right, act right, conduct your affairs, your livelihood and other affairs, seeking your livelihood through wholesome means. So this is the general command that we have that encourages us to be involved, to be active in the means of production, productive activity, economically beneficial productive activities. So that's about that. The other point that is attached to this is also the fact that the command to be economically engaged in a lawful and religiously regulated way comes also with giving thanks to God. Giving thanks to God. Therefore, our education that is geared towards improving us in that matter, and also our physical activities, all of this also make it necessary upon us to thank God when we take a step and we begin to see some result, or even while we are still waiting for the result. Along the way, every step of the way should be accompanied with a sense of gratitude to God. So I hope in that sense that you understand why I am celebrating this 1.5 or about 2 years experience or exposure to the market and to engagement with the market through education and through participation. Some of the things, two of the things that I want to cover here also. The first one relates to the anniversary of the stock market itself. As I'm celebrating my engagement with the market, I'm also celebrating the anniversary of the stock market itself having completed its cycle. I actually wanted to title this as the stock market has come full circle, or the stock market has completed its cycle. What do I mean by the cycle of the stock market? The stock market operates at different levels and at different times. It's a very dynamic system. So the experts and the scholars in this field, they identify 5 cycles, 5 stages of market activities and 5 cycles. The first one, that is probably the most positive, even though they are all interconnected, and as a matter of fact, research has proved that they actually cause one another. Okay, but let me say first, what's the first cycle that is most positive? The bull market. The bull market. The bull market is when the market is doing so good. The indexes are gaining, they are hitting new highs, everybody is talking about the stock market. The stock market is going crazy. Is making people are making a lot of money in the stock market. That's when you have most of the stocks in your portfolio green, and everybody is doing most of the stocks and assets and equities are doing good. So that's the bull market. It comes by once in a while and stays around for some time, but it doesn't last forever. And so the stock market is not static. So then we have in opposition in opposite of that is the bear market. The bear market, of course, that is you could see from those animals that are used symbolic for those two. The bear is smaller than the bull, and is so when the market begins to go down and it begins to show red and it begins to drop within reasonable or within the limit of 10 up to 15% in the big indexes, in majority of the established businesses and stocks. That's the bear market, and that's not the time that a lot of people who are not engaged in the market as of yet get encouragement to do that. Whereas it's actually a good time to enter into the market. So we have the bull and the bear. The next one is the correction period. The correction period is when the market drops below 15%, especially S&P 500 that is used as the main indicator or the barometer of the performance of our overall stock market, because it tracks over 500 or over 500 of our best companies. So when it drops beyond 15%, that's a correction. That's a correction, and then the crash is a sudden drop in the market that is beyond the correction territory, i.e. a drop of about 20%, 25% or more. We saw a crash during the when the pandemic first set in. We were in a crash market sometime around maybe say from March or from February through up to June, July of the year 2020 as a result of the pandemic. So after the crash is recession. We were about to go into recession after the crash during the year 2020, but because God, saved us, protected us from going into recession. Recession is actually a crash that continues, that doesn't get recovered or rebound, where there's no rebound for a long time. And as one of my instructors have said, we never know what the bottom can be in the market. So, but the crash that we experienced in 2020 didn't stay for too long. Thanks to God first and foremost, and then thanks to the efforts by our government to pump money and to drop interest rates and to introduce all kind of systems for managing the economy and for helping it to resuscitate it. And we're going to be talking more about that in another. So we have witnessed these cycles within my first 18 months of engagement with the market. So as a matter of fact, after the bull, the bear, the correction, the crash and recession, there's nothing perhaps that is considered to be significant in terms of the phases of the stock market. And we have seen all of that. We have only been saved from recession. Otherwise, we actually was about to enter into recession. Not all recessions last for too long, but any crash that lasts for more than 3 months, more than a year or two, is a recession, and you never still know. But the reason why I'm saying that, we have seen all this cycle, and we are now about to we are beginning to see evidence of rebound in the market, and evidence of, for example, the S&P 500 has risen and has crossed the correction line, i.e., the losses have been regained. Much of it have been regained, and is generally now in above correction territory. That's a good sign that we are about to begin to see new highs in the market. So that's about that. The last thing that I want to talk about here is, just because of I don't want this video to be too long, is to give credit to whom it is due. First of all, credit is and thanks to God. And then I also want to spend a little time to thank all of the individuals who have helped me to with my education, and then with my participation in the market. I might be actually starting from the last of them that I have in mind, which is Charles Payne. Charles Payne is a CNBC analyst, a top and a very successful stock analyst and stock investor. He learned about me by the way of me accessing materials by him on the internet, and he got in touch with me, and he sent me this beautiful book of his, this bestseller of his, which is, you can see his name, Charles Payne, and you can see the title of the book, Unstoppable Prosperity. And that's going to be the next the material for my next step, or my next leg in my stock market education. It comes with audio materials as well. So let me walk myself back to the first one, and I also want to give a shout out to the old man from Alabama, Kerry Gegmeyer, and I will be talking about his philosophy of investment. And I want to give a shout out to Joseph Hugo. Is the only CFA among my instructors. Is the only licensed one. Many of them have been analysts, but they probably don't have license now. So you see them making disclaimer when they recommend their stocks. But Joseph Hugo is still a licensed financial advisor. And then let me go and give a shout out to the two Stockmore and Stock Corey. Let me give a shout out to Larry Jones. Let me give a shout out to Jeremy of financial education. Let me give a shout out to Ken and Grace, the banger. He uses the word banger. And I'm going to be talking about the philosophies, what I have gleaned from the approaches of these people to investing, that's going to help me build my own unique philosophy, because I need to learn a lot of them, but I also come from a background that is completely different, and I'm also bound by certain rules that they are not bound by. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to develop my own unique philosophy of investment, and I'm going to be sharing that with you. And finally, let me give a shout out to Chris Sane, who was actually my first YouTuber instructor. Thank you all. Thank you, my listeners. God bless you. See you next time. Bye-bye.